Welcome to the True Guy Globe. Brief updates. Subscribe and press the bell icon for updates. The camera lights were hot, almost blinding, making the air feel thick and heavy with expectation. Reporters pressed in, microphones bristling like antennae, each one eager to catch a word, a slip, a story. I stood at the podium, prepared remarks in hand, trade, culture, the usual talking points that had been rehearsed countless times. But my mind wandered to the streets outside, to the faces and small acts of kindness I'd witnessed that morning, simple gestures that spoke volumes. A journalist asked about the challenges of my post, their voice cutting through the noise, inviting honesty. Suddenly, my script vanished. I looked past the cameras, remembering the hotel staffer's warm greeting, the security guard's selfless gesture in the rain, moments that lingered in my mind. These weren't grand gestures, just everyday humanity woven into the fabric of life here. I realized I couldn't deliver my prepared speech. The words felt hollow compared to what I'd truly experienced. My attaché's eyes widened in alarm as I went off script, sensing the shift in the room. Diplomacy is about control, about measured words, but I felt compelled to speak honestly, to let my guard down for once. I gripped the podium and began, "Let me tell you what I have truly learned here, beyond the official reports and statistics. I have learned about strength, not of armies, but of the human spirit, the quiet courage that endures through hardship." The room grew silent, reporters sensing something real, something unscripted and raw. This wasn't the language of diplomacy, it was a confession, a rare moment of vulnerability in a world of protocol. I spoke of the quiet dignity I'd seen, the resilience in the chaos, the hope that persisted in every corner of Manila. I admitted how these small moments had changed me, reshaping my understanding of service and connection. The press expected a standard answer. They got something else, something genuine and perhaps a little unsettling. I finished, heart pounding, aware I'd crossed a line, but also feeling a strange sense of relief. But I'd also found my voice, a voice shaped by the people and stories I'd encountered. This story didn't start in a palace or embassy, but on the vibrant streets of the Philippines, among the people who live with hope and kindness every day. In that moment, I became more than a diplomat. I became a witness, a participant in a much larger story. The room erupted not with questions, but with a new kind of attention, a respect for honesty rarely seen in these halls. My confession was out. There was no going back, but I knew I had spoken my truth. And that was the beginning of everything. A new chapter, not just for me, but for the story I was now a part of. When I arrived in Manila, I saw the city through the lens of my training. Reserved, analytical, always guarded. In Iran, emotions are private, public life formal. My job, observe, report, advance my country's interests. Manila overwhelmed me. Humidity, noise, color, and unexpected warmth. Strangers smiled, shopkeepers cared. It was foreign to me. I kept my distance, focused on work, not friendship. My reports home were all data, economics, politics, challenges. I saw poverty and corruption, but missed the intangible force holding society together. I noticed hardship, but only began to glimpse resilience. My world was embassy walls and formalities. I was observing, not truly seeing. Like analyzing a painting's pigments, I missed the artistry. I was professional, correct, and blind to the essential truth. A lesson waited for me outside my armored car. I was about to receive it. The city was ready to teach me what my training never could, and I was finally ready to learn. My real education began not in official meetings or grand events, but in the rhythms of daily life on the streets of Manila, where every moment offered a new lesson. My driver Rico once bought flowers from a street boy and quietly handed him his lunch. No words exchanged, just a simple act of kindness that spoke volumes about the spirit of the city. In a bustling market caught in a sudden downpour, a vegetable vendor sheltered me with a banana leaf. She refused any payment, simply smiling and saying, "Welcome to the Philippines, sir," as if kindness was the most natural thing in the world. These weren't isolated moments. They happened every day, woven seamlessly into the fabric of city life. I saw traffic enforcers share lunch, not just as colleagues, but as friends supporting each other through the day. Students pay fares for strangers without hesitation. Neighbors clean up after floods together, turning hardship into an opportunity for unity. This wasn't charity. It was humanity in action, a daily practice of looking out for one another. The social fabric here was empathy and mutual support, not individualism or competition. I realized this spirit was the country's greatest resource, unmeasured by GDP but vital, sustaining the city through every challenge. It was resilience in the face of typhoons and hardship, joy found in sharing, and hope that endured even in the toughest times. These small kindnesses chipped away at my diplomatic reserve, softening the boundaries I'd built around myself. Like water smoothing stone, these moments gradually changed me, reshaping my perspective with gentle persistence. I began to see the Philippines not as a case study or assignment, but as a living lesson in compassion and shared humanity. The city's true wealth was its people's hearts, their warmth and generosity shining brighter than any landmark. And I was finally letting it in, allowing myself to be changed by the kindness that surrounded me every day. These experiences made me reflect on my own culture. In Iran, hospitality is deep but formal, is ritualized respect. We value poetry and emotion but keep feelings guarded. The Filipino way was different. Emotion was public, connection immediate. Strangers became family in minutes. Openness was strength, not naivete. Here, community, the spirit, was the foundation. Well-being was shared. Hardship endured together. I questioned my old definitions of strength. Stoicism, control, self-reliance. Filipinos showed me strength in vulnerability, in asking for and giving help. It was quiet, resilient, and powerful. This wasn't just an observation, it was a personal revelation. My worldview shifted. True strength was compassion, not reserve. I saw my own culture with new eyes. The Philippines had changed me, teaching me the value of open-heartedness, and I was grateful for it. My official report stayed analytical, but my private journal told another story. At first, I questioned the constant smiles. Were they real? Over time, my entries shifted from analysis to reflection. I wrote about the guard who taught me Tagalog, treating me as a person, not a title. It was disarming. I felt seen. I visited a church during a festival. A family invited me, a Muslim, to share their meal. No questions about religion or politics, just kindness. I wrote, "Today I saw faith as a spirit that connects, not divides." These moments accumulated, gently wearing down my reserve. I found myself smiling genuinely, asking about my staff's families out of true interest. The stoic observer was becoming more open, more connected. My journal became a record of transformation. The tropical sun was thawing my heart. I was learning to belong, not just observe. And I was changing in ways I never expected. The day of the business forum finally arrived and anticipation buzzed in the air. Delegates from both nations gathered, each expecting a routine exchange of economic ideas. I stood at the podium, my prepared remarks on trade and policy in hand, but as I looked at the crowd, those words suddenly felt hollow and disconnected from reality. So I set the speech aside and spoke instead of what I'd witnessed: Rico's humble sandwich, the banana leaf, the simple act of sharing a meal among strangers. I declared that the Filipino spirit, with its generosity and resilience, was the nation's greatest treasure, more valuable than any economic asset. "You have mastered the art of being human," I said. "In a world that often feels colder and more divided, you are a beacon of warmth and hope for others to follow." The room erupted in applause. This was no ordinary speech, but a moment of genuine connection. Back home, my superiors were bewildered, some even angry at my unexpected candor. Diplomats don't usually praise their host nation so openly, especially not in such emotional terms. The media called it shocking. Headlines and editorials spread worldwide, sparking debate in diplomatic circles. But the reaction that truly mattered came from the Filipino people themselves, who saw their everyday kindness recognized on a global stage. My words had touched a nerve, sparking a national conversation about identity, pride, and the power of compassion. I had spoken from the heart, and it resonated far beyond the ballroom, echoing through communities and across borders. The backlash at home stung, but I stood by my truth, knowing I had witnessed something profound. My confession had become a catalyst for dialogue and understanding between two nations, and the response, filled with hope and possibility, was just beginning to unfold. After the speech, the embassy was flooded with messages, not from officials but from ordinary Filipinos. Teachers, nurses, farmers, students, they shared stories of kindness and resilience. Social media buzzed with pride. Hashtags spread my words. One letter from Cebu read, "Thank you for seeing us. Kindness is our power." It wasn't about pride, but validation. They felt seen and understood. I met with some letter writers, sharing coffee and stories. These weren't diplomatic meetings, but genuine human connections. The warmth from the Filipino people was overwhelming. I instructed my staff to answer every letter. The backlash from home hurt, But this outpouring was healing. My words had become a mirror reflecting the best of a nation. I realized the true impact of honest connection, and I was humbled by it. I traveled beyond Manila, seeking deeper understanding. In Banaue, I saw communities living in harmony with nature, rich in meaning and dignity. In Mindanao, Christians and Muslims built peace together, proving unity was possible. On Palawan, I shared a simple meal with a fisherman, language unnecessary. These journeys confirmed the spirit I'd seen in Manila was the nation's soul. It lived in mountains, coasts, and hearts across the islands. Each trip deepened my understanding. I was no longer just an observer, I was a student. The archipelago became my classroom. The lessons were about resilience, faith, and the joy of connection. I learned that true wealth was found in community, and I carried these lessons with me. My time in the Philippines ended, but its lessons stayed. In Tehran, I spoke to young diplomats, not about strategy, but about humanity. I told them, look beyond headlines. Find the smiles, the shared meals, the spirit of Bayanihan. True strength isn't power or reserve. It's kindness, compassion, and resilience. Be a student of humanity, I urged. Listen, see the good. The greatest diplomatic tool is a compassionate heart. Connection is more powerful than any treaty. I hope to plant a seed, a new idea of strength. The Philippines taught me that the most profound power is human kindness. It was the greatest lesson of my career, a gift from the Filipino people. I would carry it always. As I left, I knew I was changed forever. The world needs more of what I found there, and I would never forget it.